Yes, guys, welcome to another episode of the Callum Dunlop podcast. I am super excited for this one today, fully on sales, personal development. As we all know, something that's super important to me. So, we're going to deep dive into this. All the guys here, we're in different parts of sales, different industries. If you're looking to get into sales, manage teams, this is what you need to be watching, right? So yeah, let's just kick it off, guys. A little bit of an intro about what we're doing, what we're looking to achieve, and what industry we're in. We are in. Do you want to kick off?
Sure, mate. So, name's Hendrik, 28. I recently got into closing. So, joined a sales training community, and now I'm closing for health and wellness, and I'm exploring different avenues. Insurance seems quite interesting to me, so keep it at that. You take
Nice,
the reins.
nice. I'm Sam. I have been closing for the last 5 years, and right now I manage sales teams and I mentorship closers to get to the highest levels.
Nice. I'm Anthony, and I have been in sales for quite a while. Been in sales for about 7 years now. First few years were more in the corporate side, kind of B2B tech sales, a bit of mortgage broking and solar, and then transitioned across to the remote high ticket space. Was closing primarily in BizOp info products for a while, and then just recently have transitioned into a CRO position, or like a head of sales for a BizOp info product business.
Wow, we're in all different types of industries. I'm going to re-intro myself. Yeah, Callum, obviously. I am in fitness sales. I'm leading up one of the main sales team, probably for arguably one of the biggest influencers in the fitness scene right now. And yeah, looking to grow this team and see what we achieve over the next few years. So I want to kick it off, guys, with, look, we've all been in different industries. We've been in the game for a long time, arguably one of the best but most difficult industries, in my opinion, in the world to make money. But let's touch on, like, how important is your own personal development in sales to be the difference of like a good closer and a great closer? Because we were talking off camera today. This is something that I feel like a lot of people talk about: the word tracks, all the skills, the scripts, right? Which are important, of course, but you can have all these, but if you're not really dialed in your own personal development, you're only going to get so far, and we're going to hit here. So let's talk about what's like the one thing that you really think with your own personal development that's kind of helping you get to the highest level of your sales like journey right now.
I mean, I can kick us off. I think the biggest thing for me was, on a sales call, ultimately you're trying to transfer a degree of conviction and trust from you as the closer to the prospect, who, if you're selling something that's above, let's say, a few $1,000s, that's a fairly big decision for most people to make. So ultimately, if you want to be capable of doing that and reassuring that person, then you need to have been able to set the standard and the example. And how are you going to convince somebody to muster up the courage to do something like that if you don't do those things in your own life? So I think something that really helped take my sales to new levels and new heights was when I started taking bigger risks in my own career and in my own life. And then I just had this conviction and this confidence when I was hopping on calls, because I wasn't trying to, encourage somebody to do something that I hadn't already done myself. I think that was a huge, huge shift.
This is amazing. We were literally talking about this in the gym this morning. So I want you to expand on this from what we were kind of speaking about today.
100%. And I fully agree with you, because ultimately your success as a closer, it comes down to you, right? And there's a huge misconception in the space right now. Like, you hear everyone talking about, it's all about the skill set. You just have to learn the scripting, you have to learn the protocols, you have to learn what to do. And what's overlooked is who is applying those skills. Who is the closer? And one of my favorite quotes that applies really well to this is, and I've heard this once and I've always kept this in the back of my mind. It's closing as a self-development journey attached to commissions.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you should look at it.
Yeah.
because you grow as a person,
Yeah,
and meanwhile you're making more commissions.
that's a great
My
quote.
SM said the same thing. It's self-development disguised as a job, like the exact same thing. Because you got to figure out what buttons you push in your daily life and what the nuances are in them to just set yourself up to be in the best possible state to just convince someone, right? To make that jump, that leap of faith with the conviction that you have.
Yeah.
100%. Even like the little things, I think I'd love to hear your perspective on this. When maybe the sleep's not been as good, we've not been in the gym, like having a couple of days off, or we had like a little bit of an off session in the gym, maybe not diving into our own personal development, what went well today, what maybe didn't go well, what could I improve going into the next day. I feel like sometimes on those days when you're missing these little small micro habits, they really transcend into your calls, and you're like, and then you start to, well, this is what happens to me anyway. I start to go, oh, it's the prospect. It's that guy or that girl. He's this, he's that. And I'm like, hold on. I need to take full responsibility, because if I look at my actions, say in the morning or the day before, have they been aligned with the guy that's going to be going in and closing every call and piffing? Probably not. So I really try to focus on those little things as well. Something I really liked that we were talking about as well. Let's talk about, because this is a great topic, objections on this. So we were talking, and you kind of touched on it. So you've made some really big financial decisions in your life, which has then helped you progress as a salesman. How can you, so say for example, we need to make a commitment to ourselves to go to the next level, maybe investing in a coach, a mindset coach or whatever. And we're going on and giving that objection on the call for something that's going to help us get closer to our goal. And then we're getting angry at prospects who are giving us that objection.
Yeah. I think you need to embody the sort of person you want your prospects to be. Like, I kind of pride myself, and this might sound a little bit stupid, but I sort of pride myself on like being the prospect that I want my prospects to be. So a lot of times, like, you know, within reason, obviously this is not to be like taken to extremes, but if I'm buying something and there's marginal difference between like a mid-tier product and a higher tier product, I'm just going to buy the top tier product. I'm just going to piff. I'm just going to make a decision there and then on the spot. Like I recently hired a virtual assistant, and I met with two separate agencies. The first one I felt was quite expensive. And that was just because I have friends who have a lot of VAs in their businesses, and I got like a sense of what the general going rate is. Met with a second agency, and the VA that they were putting forward was half the price of the first agency. So I knew I was doing the right thing by looking around. As soon as I saw that it was like within a range, within 20 minutes, I said to her, like, just send me over the link and the contract. Like, I'm good to go. And the person who was closing me, who ran the agency, was so thrown off guard because she was like, oh, this is like the easiest call I've ever had. And I'm like, it's that simple. Like, it makes sense. I'm going to do it. But I will touch on this as well. I think that we don't need to like conflate spending a lot of money with this concept that we're trying to discuss. I think just being bold and being able to make big decisions, like other things that I've done that have really helped me has been moving to different countries, living in different countries, you know, stuff where you feel that fear and then you push through and you do what you know is right for you anyway. It doesn't always have to be money. But just,
That's the goal,
embodying
right?
that.
That's the goal. Because what are we doing as closers? We're helping prospects make decisions to help themselves. But how can you do that effectively if you're not helping yourself?
Yeah.
You could see it as closing is a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Again, the self-development journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you make decisions will ultimately also come down to how your prospect makes decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad mindset around money, what will show up in your calls? Prospect with money issues.
Yeah.
If you cannot decide on the spot, how can you expect your prospect to do so?
Yeah.
If you believe things are expensive, how can you expect your
Exactly.
prospect to not think it's expensive? And how are you going to push them over the edge?
It's a mirror.
Exactly. Well, even right now, we're all in Medellin, Colombia, filming this. No one's from here, right? So it's like I'm assuming we all came here. There was once a point in our life where we were like, whatever we've done has got us to where we are now. We've came here to probably level up, meet new people. So it's like, And in fact, let's even touch on that. How has your experience been so far in Medellin? Has that helped like propel your career? Tell me a little bit more on that.
Go
Wow,
for it.
it's been huge for me, man. Just the difference in circle. I used to run events in Barcelona. I had a great network there, but then coming here, like there's levels to it. My first day, I just fell into the best group possible, and then it just snowballed from there. Yeah, everyone here is either in sales, in ecom, or has an agency of some sorts, you know, and it's a lot of people from different parts of the world. They come here just because it allows you to save, right? And live a very streamlined and efficient life. But then the people that you meet here as well are just next level, in my opinion.
Frequency is
it's
high.
fantastic.
So what's been the biggest change in your life from moving to Medellin?
I'd say just being surrounded by people who are dialed in, man. Like my roommates, for example, I love them, but they work on Saturdays and Sundays. Like they are 7 days out of 7, just nose to the grindstone. They like it's a Saturday evening and it's 7:30 p.m. and Lisa's going to go to Starbucks to like hit another 2 hours of work. You're like,
so what happens to
I'm
you?
lazy.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because proximity is power. What happens to you when your roommates are dialed in?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I told you guys this when we were coming up. We kind of hold ourselves like each other accountable, right? Like I skipped my gym Thursday morning. Lice made fun of me. Lice made fun of me. So yesterday, Friday evening, I went to the gym. And Lice has troubles waking up, so I woke him up 2 days ago with a glass of water in his face. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you push each other, right?
Exactly, yeah.
What's been like the biggest like needle mover for you guys since you've moved to Medellin with career?
You know, it's funny because I have my own apartment. I live alone. I would say like Medellin just ticks so many boxes in so many ways. Like the climate is perfect year round. I'm from Australia and the time zone is horrendous for global business. And on top of that, obviously like the currency is not very strong right now. It's horrible. It's like 60 cents on the dollar. But with that, you know, Colombia is on the same time zone as the States. It's very close to the States if you need to pop in and pop out. Things, I mean, in general, the cost of living is much cheaper. So your money goes a lot further for you. In terms of the biggest needle mover, absolutely. I think I've met some incredible people. And I spent a good amount of time in Dubai last year, about 3 months total. One thing that I think I prefer about Medellin is that it serves me more for where I am right now in my journey. You know, like there's a lot of guys who I know here doing anywhere from like 10 to 100, 150K a month, right? Which is like a great range because it still pushes me to be able to increase my income, but it's not so far out of reach. Like when you're in Dubai and, you know, you're trying to keep up with these guys who are doing maybe $500,000, $1 million plus per month, it's just a bit too much of a gap to really be able to, you can't retain anything. The advice that they give is very different to the advice that you get here. It's not as applicable. So I just feel as though it's more of a stepping stone and it serves me more in that regard. And personally for me, I like the nature and I like the environment, the strength of the culture. I come from Australia and Sydney is like a massive melting pot. Yeah. And then Dubai just felt the exact same. So to be in a country where it's still like very much rooted in its own culture is just something I prefer a lot more, for sure.
Tell me. I want to know.
Network. 100%. The amount of closers in Medellin. Oh my fucking Lord. I've never met so many closers. Like we were actually looking because I do e-commerce on the side. And me and my two roommates, they are in e-commerce as well. And we were like, it would be nice to meet up with some high level e-com guys, right? And the only guys I've met are closers.
I know,
but I love it. Just surrounding yourself with good people that are doing the same things as you are doing. The guys that are here, especially when they're not from here, they're usually like thinking on a higher frequency. Yeah. It's been good in network.
Yeah. In terms of like finding like-minded people, like we met at the gym. Yeah. We met at the Run Club, I believe.
Run Club, yeah.
And then we met at Bible study.
Yeah.
just
class.
Yeah, just completely different things, but everyone's very aligned here.
That's why I left the UK. I feel like it's so close-minded. People, what you just said there, you meet people and doing all the things that you want to do, where it's like some of those things that in the UK, if you were to go to those events, people be like, why are you going to that? Just come out for a pint. And I'm like, no, because I have goals, right?
Yeah, Sydney's the same.
Yeah. And the one thing for me, which I've loved about being here, is obviously I came here for the little things, time zone, dialing in, better gyms, sun, all these things that make you like operate at a higher frequency. However, and this is something I just want to say, which I love about like you too, you're filming a podcast in your second language. Like this isn't even your first language. And I think that's insane. So that shows how much confidence that you have, and confidence is such an important thing as a closer. So for me, when I came here, I knew like my Spanish is okay. It needs to be better. And then I have to come here to put myself in uncomfortable situations to talk to people in Spanish, which then helps you level up your confidence. Because it's like, if you're doing that in a second language, I've just helped level up my confidence with this, then I can use that confidence and the conviction into sales calls. Do you get where I'm coming from with that? And that's been a real big thing for me.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where does confidence come from?
By doing the things that you know you're capable of doing and stacking up that undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. That's in my fitness pitch.
Yeah, it's true, right?
And moving through
Comes
the
from
fear.
competence and keeping the promises you make to yourself.
Exactly. And that's like for me, even talking about this podcast, Spanish, that we were talking about it this morning. I started. And I was like, with Spanish, I was like, I am not leaving this place until I'm fluent. And like, I'll leave when I'm fluent. And now I don't want to leave because I'm sitting doing stuff like this with people like yourself. So I want to touch on, because we're on the mindset side of things. Let's touch on what's like one of the hardest things about sales, like emotionally, that a lot of people don't like to talk about, or they just don't mention, because we all see the good things, the freedom, the money,
I'll say this. You can do everything right by the book and still lose a sale. And you can do everything wrong and still make a sale.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing I would say is being outcome detached and process attached.
I love that.
That would be hands down for me.
Yeah. Let me touch on that, and then so I always use this analogy in my head when I start to think. My back's up against the wall. Times are getting tough. I know some of us came from the corporate world of sales. I started off as an SDR, making like 150 dials a day. And I'll never forget, my mom once said to me, she was like, Callum, like, why are you doing this? Like, you only speak to like one person, two people a day, or you book an appointment. So say, let's talk about 100 dials, right? And you close 2 appointments. Let's do that in a percentage. So I have failed for 98% of the day, and only 1 for 2. And like my mom used to say, Callum, like, why do you do this? Like, because I go, Mom, you don't understand what that 2% feels like, and how good you feel when you get something over the line. And something I always tell myself when, the back's up against the wall, maybe not closing the way I want, is like, I just remember those days and said, if I could push through that, I can do anything. And just always think, because it's on the other side of the pain is the pleasure and the opportunity that you're looking for.
It teaches you delayed gratification. And I think the biggest thing is it teaches you how to invest inputs without immediately getting outputs, and really understand that the results are all that matters. Like, I can do everything perfect for the first 40 minutes on a sales call and lose it in the last 5 minutes. And it's the difference between me pulling in $1,000 in commission on that call or 0, right? It's not like you do 80% of the work, you get 80% of the pay. And I think that's, going back to sales being like a self-development journey, I think the one thing that it sets you up for beautifully, and it's, in my opinion, working in sales is the best bridge there is to entrepreneurship, is the majority of people are just not willing or capable of doing that. They're acclimated to, I clock in, I just stand in this venue, do what I'm told for 8 hours, and I will get paid. It's not like, well, if I clean 8 out of 10 glasses behind the bar, I'm not going to get any of my paycheck for that hour. You still get paid either way. You go waste some time in the bathroom, you spend an extra 10 minutes on your lunch break, you still get the paycheck at the end of the day. And like, that is, I think, the single biggest thing that separates people who live that kind of life and go by that sort of mentality. Like, how can I get the most for doing the least? And then other people who are just much more like, when you get into the world of sales, understanding that all that matters is the numbers. All that matters is like what it comes down to. It's sink or swim in that way.
You eat what you kill.
Exactly.
And there's no gray zone. It's black or white.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine who's like a great closer as well, he used to say that sales is a golden ticket, but it needs to be cashed in, right? Like on the ticket, on the check, it's everything you want, but you're only going to attain it by cashing it in, by putting in the work to get there.
And that's the hardest point as well, because coming back to your original question, when things are not going your way and your state is off and you don't know what's going wrong and you're throwing stuff at the wall, nothing's sticking, you're like, what am I doing? And then that mentality starts to translate into your next sales calls, and it can be an upward spiral or it can be a downward spiral.
What would
it's
have
about finding
happened?
that consistency.
Sorry, Hendrik.
No worries, no worries. That was it.
So what would have happened when you were an SDR, when you would have focused on the outcome?
Yeah, you give up, right?
Yeah, you get burned out.
Exactly.
Right?
I guess that is a great question. What's like when you guys feel you're in the rut, the back's up against the wall, what's like that one thing that you turn to go, right, I need to switch this? Like, what is it?
You can't take it with you. You can't take it into your next call. And you know, like, I don't know, this might open up a bit of a can of worms, but I'm here for it, man, because this is something that I've thought about, and I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and I feel like I've made my mind up on where I sit with this topic now. But I think in sales, yes, I completely believe in like this idea that we've been talking about of congruency, right? Like, how are you going to get people to make big decisions if you don't do things yourself? You know, how are you going to sell a fitness offer if you don't keep yourself fit? Of course. But I think it's kind of being done now as like a marketing hook by a lot of sales coaches as well. This notion of like perfecting state management and every day feeling like you're glowing and the sun is shining out of your ass, right? When you hop on a sales call. Like, the reality is like, if you don't feel like working out, do you work out still? Yeah, right? Like, if you don't feel like being social, but it's like a friend's birthday, do you still go to the party and just suck it up? Like, you do, right? So with sales as well, I went deep and I was like, I'm going to do everything. Supplement, sleep, like, you know, put the AC on while I go to bed, everything to try and optimize my state and like my biology. But then there would still be days where I didn't feel like it. And because I was putting so much emphasis on my state needs to be perfect so that I can perform, the days where my state wasn't, I was a wreck. Like, I was horrible. And then I heard, I think it was Matt Ryder talking about this, and he was like, I've like literally been on sales calls where I'm like, give me a sec, puts himself on mute, turns the camera off, like hungover, throws up into a bucket, like comes back on the sales call and like closes the deal. And ultimately, like, just detaching from I need to feel perfect in order to execute perfectly. Choosing not to subscribe to that, I think there's a lot of power in that as well. So as much as I agree, yes, go to the gym, get your 8 hours of sleep, eat well, whatever, like, also just be the sort of person that can be like, you know what? Yeah, I feel like shit and I can still close a deal.
That's a great point.
I know, I love that. But do you feel like that also, touching on what you were saying, do you not feel like that just comes from because you've just been, like you said, 7 years, you've done the hard rounds, you're just like, I know I can do whatever it's going to take because you've just been there and done it for so long?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an element of that, right? Like, it just comes with time and you get, I guess, calluses as you do this, for sure. You get thicker skin. You also just kind of come to a realization, right? Like, it's one of two options, I feel, as though when you're a closer or an SDR, because I was an SDR for a couple of years, right, at the start. And you either are like completely hitched to the roller coaster and you go for the emotional ride and you're on the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. But in my opinion, there's a clock on that. And so you either, you know, decide to just tap out and get out of the industry, which I've seen many people do. I've literally been in offices where like I've seen an SDR get hired in the morning and by the afternoon stand up from the desk and be like, guys, this isn't for me, and just walk out the office. Like I've seen that. Or you just finally get to a point where you're like, all right, I need to like uncouple this. I need to delink it. Like I just need to show up. I need to do what I need to do. And I'm not going to put my self-worth on the numbers, and I'm not going to ride the roller coaster. You have to come to that point.
I used to compete as an athlete for a couple of years, training 5 hours a day, competing at the highest possible level. And this applied there as well, right? Like, yes, you want to optimize your routines. Yes, you want to optimize your recovery, your training, everything. But there's going to be days where things are not optimized. Yeah. When you got a very bad night of sleep, but you still need to train. You still need to perform. So instead of optimizing how you feel, optimize the effort you put in, because that's the only thing you control. And I had a great coach when I was competing. And what he always used to do before competitions, this is really nice, everyone can apply this. He used to draw a circle and also like a little circle in the circle. And he had me write down before a competition 100 things that could go wrong or more. And I had to write them in the first layer, in the big layer. And then the second thing he asked me to do is to write down the things I could control in the little circle. And it always came down to the same things. What can I control? How I eat, how I sleep, how I train, how I prepare, and even that to a certain degree. And I had to write down like things like on a competition where you're like doing a swimming event in CrossFit, like getting eaten by a shark, whatever, right? Everything that could go wrong, or your judge that doesn't count your reps properly. And then you realize there's so little that you can control, but also at the same time so much. And if you only focus on what you can control, on the process, like you said, then the outcome is going to be fine because you focus on the effort you put in.
I kind of have a question on this because, like, for example, 2 top closers on my offer, right? Harry and Sonny, they're killers, and their process is completely different. They're like, Harry can't do Sonny style, Sonny can't do Harry style. And so I feel like part of the journey as well when it comes to closing is finding what works for you and how you communicate and how you show up and with what energy that you talk to the prospect.
Yeah.
And like part of it obviously is like frameworks and talk tracks and like having a couple punchlines here and there. But it's really about finding your own personality as a closer, right? And that's the really interesting and tricky journey as well.
I love it. And you know why? Because this also tackles the biggest misconception in the space, right? Everyone, you hear saying everyone nowadays, it's all about the skill set. Learn the skill set, and when you learn the skill set, you can close. He's just gave it to you, right? 2 closers, great performance, different skill set.
Exactly.
I have 2 guys in my one-on-one mentorship, actually. They are identical twins. They're born within 30 minutes of each other, whatever. Wow. Same background, same jobs before. Wow. And I'm teaching them the exact same skill set, the protocols, the frameworks, the principles, but they're performing different. So if it was all about the skill set, how could it be that they're not performing the same?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I love that. It's just all about finding your real groove, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, you can, like we were speaking before, you can follow all the scripts, the word tracks, the identity frames, but it's really about like finding your style. That's why, you know, when we were talking about fitness sales, even this sounds so stupid, but it's like I'll just wear a vest on a call. It's that little thing because it just helps me with the conviction where it's like they'll look at me and they'll just respect me more because they'll go, oh, well, he's in good shape.
What a big guy.
I think also like ultimately a big realization that I came to, because I've said this a couple times to people like person to person, whether it's like teams that I've worked on or other closers who might just ask for advice when they're struggling. I was very naive. Like I started sales at 17. And so I had like no clue what I was doing. But one thing that I used to believe was that there was a silver bullet that existed. Like there was a coach out there, right? Whoever it may be. And I'm like, man, if I can basically just put this guy's brain inside of my head, I'll get the exact same results. I need to listen to this person's process. I need to listen to this person's strategy. You are almost like formless as your own individual, and you're just trying to mimic, copy, adopt from all these other people, right? And you don't want to allow that game to play on, because that doesn't help you, right? You're never, if you're an endurance athlete, like, you're never going to compete with a strongman, for example, right? And so where it really shifted for me was like, stop trying to become, let's say, like a version of you who's closer to Jeremy Minor or whoever, the coaches are, right? Like, doesn't matter which coach, but stop trying to become a version of you that is like a better copy of that person, and just try and become a better version of Anthony, like a more evolved version of yourself. And you can learn things and adopt them, but as we've been saying, like, put them into what feels right for you. I've invested in sales coaching from many different sales mentors, and they all sell in different ways. I've worked with mentors who they are very, very authoritative, and they sit in the pocket and they hold people's feet down to the fire and want to bring all this pain out. And then I've worked with other coaches who are really big on humor and making the sale feel light, and like there's not a lot of pressure, and really future pacing what their success is going to feel like, not how bad their current situation is. There's like both ends of the spectrum. And where I feel I really turned a corner with my sales progress was when I stopped trying to figure out who was right, and I just started asking myself, like, what feels better for me?
Exactly, because it's just about taking value from every little one of those mentorships or those coaches and applying it to your personality, because that's where the authenticity is always going to win. The closer who's being most authentic to himself, because if you're not, the prospect's going to see right through it 100%. So I want to touch on this because this will be perfect. So let's talk about what's an objection that you absolutely hate hearing it, but at the same time you love it because you're a beast and you can solve it.
Honestly, don't care. Because whatever the objection is, it pretty much always comes down to the same things, right? Fear or logistics. People want to make a change, but they're in their own way. So whatever the objection is, if you can rely on yourself, your identity, what we talked about, and you can rely on the right protocols, understanding why you do what you do, it doesn't matter. Whatever objection comes at you, you know how to handle it.
As far as what I enjoy handling, though, I think I enjoy handling fear the most.
Yeah.
Like, because, somebody, I think to me, that's honestly the most satisfying part is when I see somebody hesitating. And this is also like, I'm going to add a side note in here. This is why it's very important. Probably the number one thing you could do to optimize your execution in your role is selling for a company that you genuinely believe helps people.
Of course.
That's huge. But when I see somebody who hesitates, and I know, and I've probably even closed people who are exactly like this person in the same situation, and then seen the transformation they've had with us. When I see somebody hesitate because their limiting beliefs, their old mindset is holding them back, and I can get them to a point where they metaphorically take my hand and move forward. For me, I think that's the most satisfying part of the role.
It's
Go on that, like the certainty in your own offer.
That's huge, man. Because ultimately, like, and maybe this is going to be a note to offer owners. And now that I'm, CRO for an offer, this is something I've actually spoken to the founder about directly. But like, not because there was any issues, but just as part of making it a point that this needs to always remain a core focus, which is actually improving client success, fulfillment, capturing the transformation that our clients are having. Because I said to him, like, your sales reps are like soldiers on a battlefield, right? And they are not going to go to war for you if they don't genuinely believe in what they're fighting for,
100%.
right? And so at the end of the day, if you're on an offer and you're like, well, I'm just here to make money, I respect it. Everybody's in sales to make money, right? But when it comes to the red zone, when it comes to that, like that last 2% of the sale, and somebody's genuinely shaking in their boots because they might be putting this on finance, they might be spending money they don't currently have to try and change their situation, I will tell you right now that any ethical sales rep is not going to push into fifth gear to get that deal over the line if they don't genuinely believe it's right for the person.
I absolutely love that. We're going to, because this was leading into my next question, but we're going to come back and talk about objections, what you're saying here. So it's like, I couldn't agree with that anymore. So it's like the best sales reps are the ones that would die on the sword for the product. That's it. Or they're being there and being through the product. So for example, in the fitness offer that like I run, we train the closers, like we fitness train them, so they know, they've been through, they understand the process of what this prospect is going to have to go through, because they've been there and done it themselves.
It comes back, sorry, go ahead, I don't want to cut you off.
And it just, the conviction that then they have when they're selling, and I genuinely believe that's the difference in when an objection does pop up. Say you've got to handle 1-2 things, that's the difference between you going in, if you've been there and done the product, you'll go in 3-4 times instead of not giving up, because you're like, I believe that this is the service that's going to solve this problem.
And that belief and that energy is really, for me, what handles fear objections. Like you can do, this is what you were saying before about like skill and word tracks and all that stuff. Like that is important, and you want to know where you're at. You want to have your compass at all times in terms of like understanding how to move through an objection handle. But what really, as corny as this may sound, what really gets people over the line with fear especially is the energy that they feel from you. Because I can sit here and tell you this is the right thing from you, but I can say that in a way where you don't believe me. And then I can say it in a way where I look deep into your eyes, where I'm leaning in and where I'm 100% convicted, and you can feel like, shit, like this guy actually cares.
People don't have to believe what you're saying. People have to believe that you believe
what you're saying. Yeah. What are you going to say?
I believe a big part of that as well is, and this might be like a very underrated aspect to the whole journey of ramping someone on, because you get the script and you get, you know, the school modules or whatever, right, from an offer, but actually seeing what a customer journey looks like from beginning to end, like sales call to kickoff call with the coach, to their progress check-ins, to their final like comparison, to their final testimonial, like that almost never gets done on offers.
It doesn't,
ever.
yeah.
And that is what I think, that's one of the biggest levers for someone that just comes in recently to actually see like, oh, this works.
If you want to put a fire under your sales team, spend 10 minutes in kickoff reading out client wins. And if you want to go one step further, list the closer who closed the client that you just read out the win for. Like, you will be amazed at the level of execution that your team will go to when they hear that. And a lot of it does come back to management, because I've been on offers which it was blatantly obvious that all the business cared about was making money. You know, it's like, we're not on KPI, we're not tracking the right cash, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, like numbers. If you don't hit this target, you're done, you're on the chopping block. And then I've been in offers where it's like, guys, let's go out there and change lives today. You know, let's go out there and help people. And there's a big difference in that.
Oh, 100%. But that's because really any objection is, it's like, the reason they're on this call is because they're making decisions like the person that they are today, and they need to step into the shoes of the person that they're trying to become. And when you just apply that to all objections, then that's what you need to do to move the needle. But just because we've been semi-talking on this, I think it's very important, because, you know, everyone, like, we're talking about offers, what's good for a client. Let's talk about, as a closer, what are some of the red flags that you need to look for when you're trying to find a good offer? Or like, what are some of the things that like we want to see as well? So let's talk on that.
I will start out with a perspective from like a sales management view. A golden rule that I always keep in mind when I'm recruiting closers is that the thing that you hear from them is the best that you're going to get, right? And I think it's the same thing when an offer presents what they do, and when you're talking to a sales manager or an owner as a closer. What you're going to hear is probably the best that you're going to get. So keep that always in mind.
Man, as somebody who has worked probably in like the two, like I've probably had 10 to 15 different offers or companies that I've been a part of at this stage, I would say. And I get pretty passionate about this because it's a skill, right? I have been in places many times, especially earlier on, and even not too long ago, where you get sold on the role as a closer, right? You fall and then you're led on this carrot that's on a stick that you're never going to get to, right? One of the first things I was ever told, and this sounds ridiculously stupid, and I think if the person who I was working for knew that I was still quoting this line to this day, he'd probably laugh because it was such an off-the-hand comment. But my first ever sales job when I was 17, I'll never forget this, right? So I was an SDR for an account manager at the business. So I was booking this guy's calendar out, and this is like old school. Like we would drive out to appointments and businesses and like in person, suit and tie, closing deals. And it was an awesome experience. But he always said to me, he was like, Anthony, he's like, people lie, but numbers never lie. Right. And he always dropped that on me. Like he would just say it like to the point where it got comical. But this is one piece of advice that I definitely have for closers when you're evaluating. And closers, don't be afraid to ask questions in the interview. Like ask the business, because you're in as much of a position of liability as the business is, right? You're on a commission only structure if you are, right? So like you're at risk. You need to make sure that this works out for you. Don't just be hungry to get the role and get the job. So what I would say is I don't give a shit what a business tells me their OTE is for a closing role. I'm not going to go too deep on this, but I will always ask this question. What did your top closer on the team make last month? What has happened? Tell me what they have earned. Don't tell me what I can earn. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's super important for me.
Yeah, maybe also ask, because you're vetting them just as much as they're vetting you.
You have to.
Right? You have to. Because there's so much nonsense out there. And then also asking like, why did the last person leave?
That's a great
question. Cycle rate of closers.
Yeah, you build a lot of confidence to do this as you get tenure within the industry. But I've been on interviews where I'm like, how many calls did you book for your team last month? What was your show up rate last month? Like, what did your top closer make? What did your bottom closer make? Why?
And another great thing, because we were talking about what versus who, right? Yeah. This is the what. Obviously, you need to know the facts. You need to know what you're getting into. Think about how you show up, right? How do you have more leverage? When you can walk away or you have to get that position. Yeah. And this is what I see a lot of closers do wrong. They are so desperate to get the position that the business owner is qualifying them.
Yeah.
Instead of them qualifying the business.
100%.
So go in with the attention of abundance.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have abundance, even if you don't have any other 100%. Think, I have loads of opportunities and I'm going to qualify whether this is the opportunity for me or not.
This is straight out of Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. There was I haven't actually read it, but there's one point that someone told me about a long time ago. And this has been so crucial to a lot of my success, where he basically says, I think in that book, something along the lines of like, if you don't have the ability to stand up and walk away from the table, then you're not in a position to negotiate in the first place.
Yeah, the power of saying no as well.
And that's with everything. That's even if you're in a bad relationship, that's if you're in a family environment that's toxic. But if you don't have the willingness to say, you know what, sorry, man, it doesn't sound like your company is the right fit for me, then how are you going to ever be shocked when you don't get great offers?
Exactly. It's kind of going back to what I was talking about, where we've been talking about earlier. Like, say, for example, I got an opportunity came to me for like a real estate offer, really good money per month. And I was like, but I was like, I just don't really align with that either. So I was just like, I just don't think that, I'm going to be a savage on that. And I could easily, if I was going, I need the money, I want the money, I just go, yeah, I'll take it. But then I'm going to get found out down the line, like what we were speaking about earlier. So it's like, I was just like, great opportunity, but no. And like having that conviction in what you're doing and what you're passionate about in the industry that you're in, I think that's super important. But it's kind of like what you were touching on before. I think one of the main questions that I always ask and I need to know is, what is the retention rate of your closers, and how long's the top closer been there for? And I feel like when you ask that question, you're going to get the answer, because it's like, well, someone, if you're signing up for a fitness program or whatever, if everyone's churning in the client base of like 6 weeks, it's not a good program. It's the same for the closers. If the closers aren't lasting a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I'll say this as well to closers and setters. I think this is just to give you guys a bit of wind in your sails. Like, ultimately, you are an ATM for businesses. Like, you are a cash generating asset that has zero overhead for a business besides maybe $100 per person in like software seats, right? So like, ultimately, if you are a good closer or a good setter, like what you were saying, like, it's not just act like you have abundance. There is, by the nature of how that dynamic is created, there is an ungodly amount of abundance, because if you're really good at what you do, you can get a new business offer in 24 hours. Like, you can get a job.
You touched on that. You touched on this. What I see happening now in this space, I see a huge discrepancy between the top level performers, like the top closers, and all the others who are average, right? And I see this gap widen and widen more and more and more. And I believe it's mainly also got to do with the bad coaching that's out there. Yeah. Because coaching is a business model as well. But because there's such a big difference, what I see happening, and I see it both when I'm coaching guys and girls, putting them on offers, and like from a sales management perspective, where I have to recruit closers, there's so little good closers out there. Like actual good closers that you want in your team. Yeah. Not just competent closers, but also the identity, like the character of them. Yeah. And what I see happening is that the top guys, the top girls, they have an abundance of offers, right? They have so many different opportunities and pathways they can go down to. And all the others who are average, I feel like they're fighting all for like the same small pool of offers.
Yes.
And they're complaining that there's not enough offers, the market is saturated, whatever. But the top closers are getting opportunities everywhere, right? So instead of worrying about an offer and complaining, make sure that you become a top level closer first.
Yeah. And I'll attest to
create
this.
Opportunity.
100%. Like, I don't say this to boast. I would say I've only really mastered my craft and got into a point where I feel like, okay, I am a top performer probably in the last 12 months out of the 7 years I've been doing this. But even for me, for context, I have less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. I don't have really any personal brand. I don't even say that I'm a closer in my bio. And I always kind of felt a bit weird about that, because sometimes prospects can go check you out on Instagram. And
that happened to me.
You know, yeah. There you go. Case in point. So with that though, like, I've literally in the last 6 months been in positions where I get DMs from people being like, hey, are you on an offer right now? Are you happy on the offer that you're on? Hey, like, we'd love to, see if you're open to this. And then like I put the feelers out, and I did this in about, I would say, April of this year. I was like, you know what, I kind of feel like exploring what's out there. And like within 72 hours, I had like 3 offers come back to me. Nice. Just from, and this also comes back from investing in your mentorship. Like, the reason that I have that is because I'm in a few different programs. In those programs, I've just laid out my results and what I've achieved. And so then whenever there's job opportunities or job offers, typically you can get the mentor of that program to vouch for you.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's just a lay down. Like, you don't have to sell yourself. You don't have to do much. So I agree with that. Like, just go into an offer, crush it, invest into the right circles, let people know about what you do, and it'll flow.
Which ones are you in right now? Because you put me on sales generators, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start naming names. Sales generators with Brian Ostermiller. He's phenomenal when it comes to like the whole map of consciousness, and that really opened my mind to a lot of different things in the personal development side, like reading the book Letting Go as well. Also, I have to give a shout out to JP Restrepo. He was the CRO at my previous offer, and that guy played a massive role in my development. Brian Ostermiller, Christian Jack, Sales Dojo. Again, phenomenal. I would say that's a little bit more skills focused, whereas Brian's is more like state management, internal mastery focused. JJ Hernandez with sales.io. So
Right.
shout out to JJ. He's a G, and he's supported me a lot as well. That community, I have to say, like, they have a full-time staff member whose whole job is like sourcing offers, and they put up some ridiculous numbers in terms of how many offers they put into their job offer chat every single day. So I think those are the main three. Oh, and again, probably some of the best value for money that exists, but Matt Ryder it's kind of like more subliminal, because it's not a school group or like a WAP community or anything like that. It's a YouTube membership, which I really didn't even know existed until recently. But he has like sales training content, and his course or program is like through a YouTube membership, and his is like less live calls. It's not really like a face-to-face thing. I think he does a Q&A once a month, but the content in that is phenomenal. So I would say that those communities, like, I've spent thousands of dollars on sales training with other sales trainers, and those communities that I just listed, especially Matt Ryder's thing as far as content, and Christian Jack's as far as like the live calls and live training, and just him as a person, some of the best value for money, in my opinion, that you could ever spend.
You see what's happening here, right? Why is he good? Because he's investing in himself.
Yeah,
right?
You've stole my next question. That's what I was going to say. You guys keep doing that today. So basically, what I want to touch on quickly is, well, first of all, I wanted to say what you're saying there is amazing. You know, you've been in the game for 7 years, and you're saying in the last 12 months, you're really seeing that like everything's coming together. So like the importance of time in the game, how long that takes, and like you said, thousands of dollars that you've spent, and that's why you're in the position that you're in. So my question would be is, what, say for someone who's coming up trying to get into sales up the ladder, what is like the one thing that they should look for? Because I know you guys are involved in the coaching side of things. When they're looking for a coach, what's like that one thing that's important to you that like really benefited you to help you get to the next step? Because I know, like we're saying, so many good stuff out there, maybe not some bad stuff, but what was maybe the one like thing with your coaching, or when you were looking for a coach, this was important to you and it's helped your development?
3 things. 1, is this mentor someone that I aspire to be like in some way, right?
Yeah, not just financially,
Exactly.
but as a person, for sure.
2, have they achieved the results that I'm looking for? Especially now in this market when everyone is a coach, right? It's a business model on its own. Has this coach achieved the results that I'm looking for in the industry he's going to teach me?
Yeah.
Not with this program. And then 3, especially when what I believe when you want to level up as a closer, is find someone that can mentor you one-on-one, or at least in like a close community.
Yeah.
Like it's a skill. It's not just a get-rich-quick scheme, right? Closing is understanding human behavior, understanding communication, developing leadership, fearlessness, dealing with rejection. It's, I believe, the most important skill in the world to actually
100%.
develop and apply. And so
100%.
find someone that can mentor you one-on-one or in like a close group so you can really level up.
Yeah.
I'm going to point out some red flags to watch out for as well when it comes to those sorts of mentorships. I would also say you have to be very, very, very weary and like just conscious when coaches post wins in their community, especially in sales. Nothing shits me more than this, because I'm serious. I've been in mentorships and I've seen coaches on their social media, like a closer will join their community and then within 2 days post a win saying, I just collected, 15 grand today. I made 1.5K in commissions today. Okay. First of all, they've been in your community for 48 hours. There is no chance in hell that your community had anything to do with them making that sort of money, right? Yeah. They were making that money with or without you, right? And then from there as well, going back to what you said, great point, right? I would go for one of 2 things: phenomenal content which I can honestly say that like Christian Jack and Matt Ryder, those two communities have some of the best video modules that I've seen. And the reason I love them specifically is they're not these fucking 1 hour long videos. They're like 3 to 5 minutes a piece. So you can digest them, you can interpret them, you can watch them again, right? And a really big thing with closing is oftentimes we just need to be reminded more than we need to be taught things, right?
I love that.
And so with that, really good content, go for it. Or the other side, which is what Sam said, which I agree with 100%, somebody that can give you their time. Somebody that if you're going to invest big money into coaching, don't invest big money into group coaching. Invest it into a one-on-one.
You stole the words out of my mind.
Huge.
There's also like a lot of people, they start sales training offers. I'm not name drop, but like they close for 6 months, they get some big wins, and then they start their own sales training community. And yeah, you got to be wary for those, because oftentimes they have great like springboard content. Like, what is opening a wallet? Okay, cool. But like, there's no deeper value, right?
Yeah.
You don't go into the nitty gritty. There's no, it's not niche down. It's just very basic. And then also, to be honest, like when you're looking as a beginner, that was a question, like it has to be suited for both stages, like ramping you up in the beginning, but then also getting you into more of an advanced medium level, right?
And,
so that you can open those doors and get on these decent offers. Yeah.
Go.
I was going to say one caveat to all of this, which I think is really, really, really important, right? Is that you need to be the sort of person that is committed to extracting knowledge and value from whatever you end up doing, right? Do not put 100% of your success on a mentor or their course, right? Ultimately, like I've invested in bad coaches, but I still learned things. And I still said to myself, like, I will be the kind of person that even if it's like a silver lining type of lesson, I will get something out of this. And I am not going to allow one bad actor to taint my entire perception of investing in my self-education.
100%.
I think that's super important.
For me, I think it's very important when you're looking, and I look at the mentorships I've been in and the people that I'm around right now, it's when you look at them, how the founder of the sales mentorship, how many calls is he on? Or is he, got other people doing the calls for him? Because it's like, is he there for the money, or is he genuinely there for the impact to see me win as much as possible? And that's something, if he's on a lot of the calls, then I know this guy, like it's not just he's here to collect my money, he's here to see me win. And some of the best, even right now, so I don't know, this is how I learn. So when I look at mentorships, meetups are very important for me. Some of the best little bits of value that I've learned in my career have been at like a meetup of just from another closer. Mm-hmm. Even right now, some of the things that you guys have said today, I've learned, and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to go and implement into my life. So those little bits of nuggets that you maybe pay to get all this value from that mentor, but then the people that you meet through the mentorship has been a big thing for me and on my journey for sure.
Environment, right?
Exactly.
For the guys that are closers already now or want to get into closing, this is what I did to like level up fast over the last couple of years, and what I try to get my students to do as well. When you're closing, set aside a percentage of your commission and use that percentage, that little wallet you're building there, to reinvest into more coaching. That's the fastest way you level up, right? And this way you keep growing, you keep expanding. And I think you're never done with learning, never done with investing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also going to drop this in here because I think it's important, right? Like if you work for a good company, and I would say that there's not many companies out there that don't do this, typically your business is going to have some degree of access to sales coaching that they've invested in. So also like get resourceful. You don't have to go online and buy someone's course straight away, right? See what they have. If you have a sales manager, they may not be the world's best closer, but if they're better than you, they can still teach you some things. And so 2 things, and honestly, these in my opinion are more effective in your development than just consuming sales coaching content. One, get in the habit of doing a daily call review. That is the biggest thing you can do, because that is going to show you what you're doing wrong, right? When someone creates content, they're trying to address the masses. Review your own sales calls as much as possible, especially in the beginning. Gain some self-awareness around how you sound, and you'll be surprised. You'll realize, oh my God, I didn't realize I say the word like after every 3 words in a sentence. I didn't realize I say the word and are as much as I do. So you bring awareness to things. And then on top of that, a really, really big thing that I recommend is put your sales manager to work. Send them calls that you want them to review for you as well.
Pester them.
Yeah.
Pester them.
Do it.
Pester
So
them.
those will be 2 things that you can do that are free, that will help you so much more than just watching sales content.
So how would you review your own sales calls?
Yeah.
Because how I do it right now is there's 2 main ones that I feel like I need to work on, which is discovery and then the objections. Whenever they say something, I pause it without looking at the transcript, without seeing what I'm saying next. And then I write out 3 questions that might be the best way to steer that conversation the way that I want to go. But I'm curious to see how you would advise
so
to
many things you can do.
Yeah.
You can even just put the visuals off and just listen to audio, right? To focus on tonality. You can do it the other way around, to focus on your body language and expression. You can transcript the whole call, remove what the prospect said, and see what questions you asked and what you could do better.
Yeah.
You could, what you're doing, right? You could pause and play. And as soon as you pause it, think about what would be the best thing to do. There are so many different things to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something I want to add on what you said, actually. I think it's also very important to not only see what you have to improve, but to also spot what you're doing well. Because what happens there?
Yeah.
You're reinforcing the good
reinforcing
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doubling
That's true.
down on it. Exactly.
That's true. And we can beat ourselves up a lot in closing, especially. It's like always trying to get to the top of the mountain. And the thing that can be challenging is that every month you start from 0. You climb the mountain every month, and then every month on the first, you're back down at the bottom, right? One thing that I've done that's really helped me as well is pull the transcript from the call and then duplicate a document. So you have the original transcript, and then just type out and take your time. And this is pretty grueling, but it's very well worth it. Type out any corrections on what a plus version of this call would have looked like in your opinion. So you have the original, and then you can be like, I didn't need that word. That question was a little bit fuzzy. I probably could have asked it more directly like this. Do that the whole way through, right? And you don't need to do it for an hour and a half call. You can do it for just the discovery, just the objection handle. And then if you want to go one step further, give that to your sales manager to review and see if they agree with your corrections. But again, that's just building awareness, building consciousness. And I was so embarrassed the first time I did that. I thought I was good and capable of communicating in an articulate, efficient manner. And then when I looked at my transcript and I was on this call, and the question was so in what kind of way would you say that you want to be able to, improve with how you're headed in this direction? And it's just how do you expect anybody to answer that with anything that's valuable or useful? So it's good to definitely do that, in my opinion. I think that's a great exercise.
Wow. There's been some absolute fire dropped in here today, guys. And let's start the wrap up, because I want to talk about, I know we're inspiring closers, business owners, and exciting future ahead of us all. So let's talk about a little bit about what's the next few months looking like, and what are we looking to achieve? And I want you to kick this off, because I know you're got an exciting pivot.
Yeah, a buddy of mine's doing very well, and he's in leadership in a unicorn company in the States when it comes to Medicare, so health insurance. And it just got me thinking, because Matt Ryder had a video on this as well, right? There's going to be a recession. We don't know when it's going to be. It can be tomorrow. We can already see the starts of it now. It can happen in 3 years, whatever, right? But high ticket is there's going to be good offers, right, when a recession hits, but people are going to cancel their gym memberships and they're not going to buy high ticket programs when that time comes, right? And I think the residual side of insurance, and it can be anything, like it can be alarms, it can be house insurance, it can be health, right? Building that book of business, because you said this earlier on, I wanted to put a pin in it as well, like you are a cash generating asset for a business, right? But you don't own any assets.
Yeah.
When you're in insurance, you own your book of business, and you can also sell that book of business for a multiple. So you're earning money, you're trading time for money, which we all are doing as salespeople. You're also setting yourself up for residuals in the future, and you're also building up a sellable asset. And it's also recession proof. And for me, that is just, it's very enticing to pivot towards in the future. I want to be in high ticket a little bit longer because I feel like I don't want to pivot before I feel like I'm at least half decent.
Yeah.
But I think the insurance side of things is very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I can tell you're excited about it. Even conversations off camera. It's a nice move for you, I think.
I agree with that, man. I think if your intention is to stay working in sales, which as we get around, like I'll explain that the reason I'm not going in that direction is because my intention is not, and I want to pivot out. But I think that's the smartest way you can go. I used to be a mortgage broker back in Australia, and it's the exact same thing. You have your own book of loans that you've written, and those loans, you get an upfront commission when you write the loan, and then you get like a trail commission as they come through. And the same thing, if you get out of broking after 10 years, you can sell your book to a brokerage, they'll buy it off you, and you have that asset there. So I 100% think that's the way to go. High ticket is phenomenal for cutting your teeth. It's really, really good for learning the skills. It's great for getting in at the ground floor. But ultimately, I couldn't agree with that move more, man.
I don't know who said this to me, but like everyone gets into sales to get out of sales.
To a degree.
What you said is interesting. You said we're trading time for money. Is that true?
I agree with that, but I just think it's like, look, I'm kind of on one side of this argument because I hate when people use passive income, right? I think you're always trading time for money.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like how leveraged is your input to your output, right? And so sales, if you're good, right, is a much higher use of your time than if you're working just an hourly rate 9 to 5 job, right? But I still think, if you didn't use your time to hop on sales calls, you're not going to make money.
Everyone's trading time for
what
money
about
at the end of the day.
skill for money?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with everyone's right here. But I think as well, we were talking about this today. I sometimes think, I wish I had a little bit more freedom because I'm always taking calls and stuff. But there's lots of avenues like we've spoke about within sales to make revenue. But you got to think of it like this also. What we're saying, everyone is trading time for money. Yeah, a business owner may have more time. But say, for example, because we're selling, once the customer's through the door, we don't really have to deal with them, right? So whereas the business owner has the headache of dealing with the customer, keeping them happy, retaining them. So it's like, yeah, they might have more free time than us, but they also have that time commitment for that to make sure they're happy with that. So that's something that I've been thinking about a lot is, I take a lot of calls. However, at the end of the day, I can switch off because I don't really have to worry till tomorrow. When sometimes you're a business owner, you're like, right, I've got them in the door. Now I need to, how am I keeping this guy for 6 to 12 months and all these other things.
You're always trading time for money, right?
Are they happy?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so.
But that's also like, with more responsibility and with more higher leverage skill sets comes a bigger slice of the pie. And that's why the business owner, an info product might take home 70% of total net revenue, and then the closer takes home 10%. Right?
What you said is right, because nothing is really passive, right?
Nothing.
Yeah.
So we're in e-commerce, and even though products get sold in a passive way, you're still managing the team. You're still managing the supply chain. You're still investing time to get it to a passive model.
Even when people say real estate and stocks, how much time did you spend looking at houses, talking to realtors, dealing with property management, dealing with a broker for your stock portfolio, checking the stocks every day? Like, it's not passive. There's nothing that's 100% passive. Yeah. I like what you said about trading skill for time. And I will also say this, because I know, especially if you're new in sales, being a closer or a setter on a commission-only basis can be quite daunting. But one thing that I heard, and I think this came from, I heard it from Patrick Bet David. It is like almost like a law of physics. Like it is a fact that the market will always pay you your worth. Always, right? So find some security in that, in knowing that you have a skill set that provides value to a market, and that so long as you do have a good skill set and you have value to provide, you will never go without. And so I think that is something that can, in this world of commission only, ups and downs, I think that is something that over the long run has given me a lot of peace and comfort.
100% agree. And to add, because we were talking about identity before, right? And to add that the identity and the skill will produce the income. You will never out-earn yourself. And the way I like to see it is that your identity is like a invisible cap that's on your income.
Yeah.
You can't see it.
Oh, that's a good way of putting
very
that.
But it is
very
That's
true.
a great way
Yeah.
of putting that.
Very true.
See, for like the future for me, that's where it's like I'm so like what we were speaking about today. I'm so passionate about fitness mindset. That's what we're talking about. Everyone needs to get fitter. We all need to develop our mindset. So I think in the sales side of things, if you're always in that industry, because it's never going to go out of business because we need it. And then you're always doing that work on yourself, which I need to do to be better. I just feel like I'm never going to be out of work, or I'm never going to be, my passion's going to go. I just feel like I'm always going to have something to do. So for me, I genuinely believe like we are creating an absolute monster at the moment, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. And yeah, and then there's some things for myself, we were kind of talking off camera, and something that we spoke about a lot today. I've got a couple of ideas going in my head where, fitness people, some are really good with, say, I don't know, the skills, or some don't have no skills and they've got a really great mindset, trying to piece it all together and bring in that like optimal closer where they're dialed in on each part, and then maybe offering a bit of a coaching service for that, linking the fitness, the mindset, and the skill together. Do you know what I mean? Tell me, what's the plans for the future, boys? I want to know.
make more impact, building out the business, and mainly for me it's just developing in faith and developing my own character, my identity. Keeps coming back, right? Developing myself, growing in my faith, building out the business. I want to do some more coaching because it gives me the most energy to really see guys level up and change their life for good. So just steady building.
I love. Tell
Nice.
me, what's the plan?
Well, I just had a couple weeks off. I was able to convince some family to come out to Medellin from Australia, so that was nice. And now I'm back in as CRO for the first time, which has been a big step up and shift for me, I'm enjoying it massively. It's got fresh gears turning that haven't really been worked before when I was strictly closing. So it's not going to be anything too sexy, man. The next few months is just going to be bolted down in my apartment. We're building out a lot of systems for this new business, putting a lot of things in place. I really like to do one thing at a time. So all I'm focused on is scaling that business as CRO, recruiting a sales team for that company and seeing them perform. And then off the back of that, maybe pick up one or two more accounts to do that sort of service for other businesses. And if I can muster up the confidence, maybe we'll get some coaching going as well. I don't know. It's for me, I've got so much imposter syndrome around becoming like a B2C sales coach, and I think there's enough of them out there that do a phenomenal job.
Let's make that happen today, because you've been in sales for 7 years.
Yeah.
You have shared great value today.
Yeah.
You showed that you're competent.
Mm-hmm.
What would the version of Anthony do that?
Here we go.
Yes.
Can I share a perspective on that?
Go ahead.
Challenge you.
No, go for it.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
What would the version of Anthony do that lives life on like its highest terms?
I'm going to be honest, man. I genuinely believe he'd do what I'm doing right now. Like I like the B2B side of things, and I like working as CRO. because for me personally, I think that there's more exposure to other aspects of business in that role, because there's a lot more collaboration with the CMO, the founder, the client success team. And ultimately for me, I do believe that my main goal here is to build my own business. Exactly what that's going to be one day, I'm not sure, but I'm kind of chipping away step by step at accumulating the skill sets, because you got to get all the stripes on the belt to make a business operate profitably. I think if I was to ever do something like sales coaching, again, like we've dropped his name a lot, but I really like the way that Matt Wright has done it, because he's working on a company right now, which is absolutely crushing it, and that's his main focus. The coaching is like, hey, I've been around the block for a while. I know a few things. I'm gonna package it and just and his is like super cheap. Like it's ridiculously cheap, that YouTube membership, and like cost doesn't always equal value. And I think that's a lot of what the high ticket space depends on, is like shitting on stuff that's cheap. People, well, our program's $5K. You're going to go buy something that's $50 a month. How do you expect it to be the same value? You'd be surprised, right? But I think with that, like, I just feel as though I can prep myself for having more of an impact. Would I be opposed to coaching people in sales on the side? No, I wouldn't be, but I also just have to be conscious that, like every other man, I only have 24 hours in a day. Yeah. So I have to choose where that goes.
The reason why I asked you the question is because you mentioned imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like not being sure.
He's running a discovery.
I'm closing it right now.
That's fine. No, I'm
Go
here
for the kill.
I'm here for it.
Whenever a prospect doesn't give you the right answer, re-ask, restate the question. Yeah. I'm doing it right now. Go for it. So it sounds like labeling. It sounds like you want to pursue coaching, but something in you is holding you back.
Ooh.
I would say I'm still going to be able to scratch that itch now as CRO, because I'm going to be recruiting and managing a sales team. Mm-hmm. So I would still be able to coach and get that fulfillment from the arrangement that I have at the moment.
Yeah. Just never hold yourself back, because if you know that you can bring value, imposter syndrome doesn't exist, right?
Exactly.
No, 100%. I think it's good to have like a healthy degree of like self-awareness, and one thing I've realized is that like when you really do go through a few mentorships and you understand the who's who of sales, you really understand that there are some people that are just fucking phenomenal at what they do, and that's not a reason to not try and do it as well. But, somebody who exclusively dedicates themselves to being a sales coach and using all of their time and resources to creating an amazing sales coaching program, while I know personally that the majority of my time is going towards scaling a business that I'm now a part of, I don't have, I guess, the naivety or the delusion to believe that I could compete with the person who's doing it exclusively. And I think that's maybe more so where it comes from. So yeah, I don't know. And also, as you go deeper into business and you see how other things in the business work, you also realize just how much goes into building a business. And that's where like you see all these people at the start who I'm like, yeah, man, I've got like 3 businesses and this one feeds that one. And then it's like, dude, I'm CRO of a company now and my day is jammed. And that's just me overseeing a department of a business, not even a whole business. Yeah. So,
I do agree. I think it's the old saying, who's gonna win, the guy who's doing 3 things at 60% or the one guy who's all in on 100?
Yeah.
But one thing for sure, I know, guys, I'm going to be excited to see where we're all at in 6-12 months, and we're going to have to do it again. But it's been a pleasure. Anyone else want to add anything else? Or
no, man. Thank you for having us on. I appreciate it.
Fantastic,
honestly, I've really enjoyed this. I've learned value from everyone today, so I'm excited. And yeah, like, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.